like going hunting, just me, my hound, and my gun. Chasing them deer, rabbit, and squirrel, now that's my kind of fun. I like going fishing too, I'll go on any whim, looking for the big bass, the crappie, and the brim. Just give me a wide open field to walk through. Give me an ocean so deep. I want to ride the longest river in the world, or maybe climb the highest mountain peak. Like going down to the fishing hole, my buddies and me and my old cane pole. Bait them hooks and wet them lines, it's a life I love so fine. It's almost supper time, you'd think the world was mine.
And now for today's outdoor adventure, here's Archie Phillips. Look at that. See him with that bright, well, look at that thing fight. See that bright color on him right there?
Yeah.
Now that's some pretty bed and bluegills. Now I got a special hole over here that I was gonna bring you to and explain to you what's been going on up here since we got this lake cleaned up. And folks, we're out on Bayview Lake, Alabama, with the Commissioner of Conservation of the state of Alabama, who incidentally helped us in a real big way take a lake at, come on Jim, you got it.
Go right ahead.
Take a lake that was just totally wiped out. Now Jim, if you remember, there was nothing but duckweed in here.
Oh, I remember there was over 300, maybe 340 acres of it. And
it was terrible. With them going down, you didn't let them go down enough. Now what you're using is a suit. Now you got to hammer him. You didn't stick him hard enough, Jim. Anyhow, this lake was messed up, and the folks from the Alabama Conservation Department came up here, and Mr. Jim Martin here, Jerry Moss, and it's unbelievable. You can see off down through here now. I mean, you got to admit it was a miracle, wasn't it, Jim?
Oh, it's absolutely a miracle. I can't get over what's taken place in just a relatively short period of time.
It took us 2 years.
I remember when I first came out here, there was a sea of duckweed just as far as my eye could see on this lake.
And that thick, you remember?
Yeah, oh, it was matted in thick and filled with all kind of debris and trash that had floated in. The results of it is still floating around the shore, which we've got to get cleaned up, but we'll get that done.
Well, we you know, this has been under y'all's, I guess you ought to call it a research lake, and it has gone to prove that you can take something that's just totally destroyed, like this place was, and bring it back to life. And that's what we're going to have to do. We destroyed a lot of streams, and the thing about it is, we take drinking water for granted. If we don't keep these streams clean, we don't have nothing to drink.
Well, I think we not only have the Bayview lakes of the country, but it's our streams and rivers throughout the entire United States. We've taken them for granted too long, and all of a sudden we find them polluted, and we're throwing up our hands, but that's not the thing to do. We've got to stop the pollution and clean up the mess that's been created and keep them that way.
Yeah. Hold him, Jim. You done got over in my little old hole there now. I want to know what you think about my fishing place.
I think it's great.
Boy, they love
Has
them
to be great. You get one every time you make a toss.
I know it. They love them crickets, so I'm going to tell you. That is some fine bait. Whoever thought up using crickets had a good head on his shoulders. I guess it's just a natural bait, though. You know, the old crickets there, they jump off in the water. Every self-respecting fish in the world got to have him. Jim, here comes one of your top-notch state biologists, old Jerry Moss there. He's been out doing his job. He got a little black box you sent him out there to double check all this water, and I believe he gives us a report when he gets through with that thing, don't he? How about it, Jerry?
How y'all doing?
Fine.
Catching them all?
Getting them all.
We got a little bit of problem down there by the bridge.
Uh-oh.
We got acid water.
Uh-oh. Jim, everyone that sunk that thing slap out of sight that time.
Oh, you got you a good one there.
This little old light pole, man, that is fun. Look at that thing. Look at him. Ah.
Oh, you got a nice
pretty one. Look at the colors in that thing. Ooh, that's a little bigger than average right here. These right in here ain't real giant big brim, but that's a little bigger than average right there.
Yeah, that's a nice one.
And you see them colors in him, them spots will leave after just a short while right after you catch him. But they are some fine brim here. That's 3 times I throwed out there and never did even see the cork go down. They must have got it on the way.
Well, there's plenty of brim here. There's no doubt about that.
You got a good one. He'll sink that little old porcupine quill, won't he?
I mean, he will. He's taking it for a ride.
Look at that. Oh, ain't that a He turned you loose right at the boat, didn't he?
Got him on your shoulder. Watch out. Watch. You may have to help him there, Archie.
Jerry Moss has been up the creek up there. We had a little bit of a drainage problem. Jerry, how about let me get this fish. Tell us what, Jerry, what happened up there, way up the upper end up there. We had a little bit of a water changed color, turned turquoise looking. We knew something was wrong. What'd you find out, Jerry?
Okay, well, y'all asked me to go up there and check the water up there. The water had a strange color. It turned sort of a turquoise blue, purple, almost a purple color. Anytime you see that, you suspect some acid drainage, either from mining or strip mining, underground mines, something like that. So Mr. Capps and I went up to the bridge and we checked a couple of water quality parameters, and one of them was a critical one called pH. And pH is an indication of how acid or how basic water is. It's very critical to how well the fish does in the water. So we went up there, and I'll just show you what I did basically here.
Okay.
First thing you do is you take a sample of water out of this little measuring tube, like a little test tube. You fill it up to the mark it's got, up to that white mark here with the water sample. And then I got a chemical called Wide Range 4. It's a pH indicator solution. You uncap this thing, and this is a simple test. Any high school student or even a junior high student could do this. You take the 6 drops and put it in your sample. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And you can see when I put those 6 drops here, and that changed the color of this water sample we've got to a sort of a purplish color, which basically looks like is going to fall in the sort of the normal range. And I've got a little meter here, or calorimeter, what we call a calorimeter, that we compare this color to some known colors that give us a known pH. So what I do is I put that sample in there and find the color on this colorimeter that matches the color of my sample. And in this particular case, it is around 8 or a little bit greater. Right around 8.0 is what we would call the pH in here.
Would that be good?
That would be in the normal range, a little high in the normal range, but it would be normal.
Okay.
Now, when I was down there by the bridge in the lower end of the lake, we got a color that was about sort of a light limeish green color, which was about between 5.5 and 6.
That ain't real good, is it?
That's not great.
Could fish live in that?
Fish can live in that. There's a question of whether they can reproduce when it's that low.
But it's a real marginal condition, isn't it?
It's borderline.
Would they move on down into the main part of the lake here when it's like that? Would that be a normal thing?
That's my theory.
In other words, if they didn't like it, they'd just move on to where the water got better.
Right. If they're in a pH water that it's too acid for them and they don't tolerate well, they'll move on out. Just like if it was low oxygen.
We didn't find any dead fish up there.
No dead fish. I checked. There's no dead fish up there. So, like I say, it's sort of a borderline condition. They're not comfortable with that range of pH. So they probably just moved out.
Well, that's the next project we got to work on, is getting that drainage solved.
Right. And that happens anytime. Back years ago, when we had a lot of mining activity in the state, when they did these underground mines, we didn't have the stringent environmental procedures as we do now. And a lot of these mines were dug out in an improper manner, and now we're paying the consequences because of that.
Oh,
get him, Archie.
I got him covered. Now I tell you, this is the end product of getting the trash out, getting the pH right, getting everything figured out. You just sit out here on a spot like this and just have a good time, ain't it, Jim?
That's what it's all about.
Well, let me ask you something. On these lands, y'all got parks all over the place, and we got some of probably the finest ones in the world here in Alabama, haven't you?
Well, Alabama has 24 state parks, and we are blessed. We have a reputation of having some of the finest parks in the United States because of their locations. You know, you could go down on the Gulf and have salt water. You can go up in the north and be in the mountains. And incidentally, all of them have good fishing.
I'm going to tell you one thing. That Gulf Shores Park y'all got down there, I rode around that thing, and there's enough camping areas for a giant army down. I've never seen a place that had as much
well, it stays
camping
full
area.
of people from all over the United States come and enjoy it. In fact, we've got to put more RV hookups right now. That's in our
How many y'all got
project.
down there, Jim?
How many RVs?
Places to park RVs. It looked to me like you had 1,000.
Well, we do have about 1,000, but you don't have that many with hookups for full sewerage and electrical service. But we're putting 50 more on stream this year, and we're going to try to put 50 more on next year. It's a continuous process with us.
Well, I'll tell you one thing. At Gulf Shores, Alabama, is the prettiest beaches in the world. I ain't been to all. Well, let me catch this fish here. Wait a minute, let me catch this fish. I ain't been to all of them, but I've been to some of them.
Archie, did you know that Gulf Shores won the 3rd best in the nation
Did
for
it?
place to take your family for vacation?
Well, you know what?
In all the United States, Gulf Shores, Alabama, State Park was ranked third best.
Well, you know what I like about it down there? If you don't like the saltwater fish,
You go freshwater.
you got the got 2 lakes in fact.
Oh,
haven't you?
yeah. Lake
And,
Shelby.
and your boat price is as cheap as dirt down there. I don't see how y'all function at the prices y'all charge.
Well, we keep the prices down so the average man and woman or child can enjoy the outdoors and the fishing without a crimp on their pocketbooks.
Well, it was nice. You had the boats right there. All they can do, they can stay in cabins, they can stay in those RV places, or they can go over to convention center, or they can fish off the pier. I never seen a place that's got more stuff packed in one little. Well, it ain't such a little area. What is it, about 5,000 acres?
Oh, we've
or
got
something?
over 5,000 acres in that park. It's a gorgeous park. In fact, the other day I was there and a small bear had wandered out of the swamps. You know, it's on the
man.
edge of a wilderness.
Look out, let me catch this fish.
Oh, you
Go
got
ahead,
that
go
fish.
ahead, go ahead. Don't interrupt you. Just go right
So
ahead.
it's on the right near one of the great deltas of the United States. You know, that Mobile Delta is about 200,000 acres of wilderness.
And it is something. Look, it is there. I know there's some bears in there because I've seen them in there.
Oh yeah, we've got a few.
There we go. There he goes. Ah, there he is right there. You know, Jim, I tell you what, folks that don't like the brim fish, they just don't like to fish. That's all there is to
Well,
it.
they're missing a lot.
But you know, thing about brim fishing is that you can get you one of these little old collapsible B&M poles, ain't but about that long, put them in the back of your car, go by like we did, get you some crickets.
Yeah.
Get
You're
your
in
boat. Now
business.
you ain't even got to. You can fish from the bank, or you can paddle out here, or whatever you want to do, and sit out here and enjoy it. And I think a lot of new fishermen get intimidated, think you got to have one of these big old fancy bass boats and all this high-priced gear to enjoy fishing. And I'm gonna tell you, this is hard to beat right here.
A little collapsible pole like this is relatively inexpensive, isn't it?
Oh yeah, and look, you got one done took you out.
Oh,
It's
yeah,
gone,
yeah,
gone.
Yeah,
Oh.
yeah. He
let it-
also got my bait
got
while
your
you were
bait.
talking about the pole.
Well, I know it. But the thing about it is, we can always throw out there and catch another one. You know what I mean?
Plenty of them.
Plenty of them in this place. And, you know, I never will forget when old Jerry Moss come out here with me. We brought the shock boat out here. We rolled around. That's when this thing was almost dead. And I think we got one brim between here and that dam down yonder. I believe one brim is what we got. And we carried that thing, there he is. We carried that shock boat up in Corbin Creek, and Jerry pushed that button up in this tree limb, and about a 1-pound bass rolled up, and I said, Jerry, look what the Lord has done sent to us. I couldn't believe it. He said, well, listen, he checked it with his little black box like he did a while ago.
Yeah.
He said, Archie, ain't nothing wrong with this water. All we got to do is put some fish in there. And then y'all put us about 30,000 Florida bass in here. Of course, the brim, they come back from these little streams, and it's been just like this ever since. Beats anything I ever seen in my life.
And how about the Florida bass? How are they doing?
They have done super. We mounted a 6 1/4 out of here the other day. We heard the man tell us this morning they got a 7 1/4. Day before yesterday. Hold him, Jim. Day before yesterday, and so they're doing real well. And hold him, Jim. Hold him. You got him. I believe you like that porcupine quill. It don't take much to pull that thing down. You know them things, they had a disease on them old porcupines at one time, and they was using artificial one, but you know
For little fish.
yeah, these old die-hard brim fishermen said we don't want no artificial one, we want the real McCoy, so they had to go back and get them regular porcupine quills going again.
Dump him in.
Dump him in. There he goes, right in the bucket. Jerry, I've caught not many, but a few brim in here, and they'd have a sore place on them, and they look terrible. I mean, they look like something awful. What in the world is it? People call me all the time wondering what them sores on them fish are. Now, what are they? Is it bad, good, or does it matter?
Archie, these places can be caused by several things. There's certain problems that fish have, just like we have. They get problems with parasites and disease, and just like we can come down with problems and get sick. And one of these things that are real common that we hear about during the spring, because this is when you have a lot of parasitic and disease problems, is these little white and black grubs that get encysted in some of these fish, and they're encapsulated in the fish's flesh, and these things during the certain times of year will hatch out and actually become little white worm-looking things that actually weave in and out through the flesh of the fish. And when people are filleting a fish and they see these things, they just become horror struck. They think this is they've caught a fish that's got some terrible cancer or has been around a chemical plant and maybe got diseased or some kind of problem. And we get 50 to 100 calls each spring in our office dealing with this kind of problem. And it's not really serious. You can go ahead and cut this parasite out and go ahead and cook the fish, but just go ahead and cut that part out.
Well, now tell me, you said something about a bird had something to do with it.
Well, and a lot of these parasites that fish get, there's a primary host. The fish is usually what we call a secondary host.
Okay.
And in this particular case, I believe the bird is a primary host, and a lot of the birds that carry these things are egrets or herons, like the little green heron or the great blue, and they carry this thing as the primary host, and then because they're around the water, they pass it on to the fish.
And then but they will come on out of that fish going
right.
to the fall.
They'll eventually.
They'll be all right, won't they?
That's right. That's right.
Well, that is a question I've always wanted answered.
Well, there are also some other problems this time of year. Fish become stressed because they're coming off the spawning season. Their metabolic rate is sort of at a low ebb, and they'll come out with some of these little hemorrhagic stores, these red areas on the fish, and these are caused by a bacteria problem, Pseudomonas or Aeromonas, which is two types of bacteria, and these can come on fish and produce these reddish hemorrhagic areas on the fish.
That still won't kill them, or will it?
Generally not, unless they're really stressed by something. If they're really at a low ebb.
There you go, Jim. You've been over in my fishing hole again there. Look at there. Right out of the middle of there. Yes, sir. Now, Jerry, these Bream some of them are real red and some of them are light colored.
Let me get him.
What's the difference in them?
Well, that may be just a result from where you caught them or how deep you caught them.
In other words, you know, some of them got the light yellow color.
Right.
And then what we call bedding Bream has got a real deep color. Now, what's the difference in them? It's just a regular old bluegill, ain't it?
Right, it's still a regular bluegill, but just like any fish, you know, depending on the depth he's caught or the clarity of the water, they'll take on different colors just based on their habitat and environment they're caught in.
Okay.
So colors are very flexible. You can catch one fish that may be very, very dark, and then you'll catch another fish from a different body of water that doesn't even resemble that fish in terms of coloration, but they'll be exactly the same species.
Why are these so red that's on the bed and them is yellow ain't sitting on that same bed?
Could be something they're eating, the food they're eating. If these fish are eating a lot of different types of insects or small crawfish that have a impact on their diet, that can change the actual color of their skin. But generally it's related to the sunlight, the clarity of the water, and so on and so forth. That's the basic reasons fish have different coloration underwater.
I guess it's about time to go in.
Why you figure that?
Well, we're out of crickets.
Hey, I got another secret weapon you don't know nothing about.
What do you got, Archie?
We're gonna invoke it, and we're gonna hope that it'll do the job. I got a little old doodad on my line over here. We're gonna go with 4-pound test line. We've got this little Keystone jig. It ain't big as nothing, don't look like much. This a Bream and bass getter. Now this wind's blowing like crazy. I don't know, we may have to get in a little cove, but this will catch them right here. And that's what we're gonna go with. 4-pound test line. Got this little Buck's crappie rod, real lightweight graphite, so when you get one on there, you're gonna think you got a big old bass anyway. And all we're gonna do, we're just gonna throw it out there and just don't jerk it enough. We're just gonna reel it just like that right there. Just reel it slow. It's real slow like that right there. And there he is. Just like that. Is there anything hard about that?
Nothing at all.
Now, did I call that shot or not, Jim?
One time, one fish.
Hey.
Can't beat that.
I happen to have a spare one of these things.
Let me try it.
In fact, now this one's already broke in and he's trained. I don't know how a brand new one will do. That ain't caught but about 100 Bream in the last 2 days. But let me show you. Now I got you another. Let me get it unrigged here and I'm gonna get you going. All right, just let me put this fish up. Jim, that ain't no Bream, that's a bass.
Yeah, that's a little bass.
Look at that. Look, I told you that
Absolutely.
thing would hit that little old dude.
How about that? Come on, young fella.
Bring him right on up here.
There you got him.
I want to handle him careful, cause this is one of our hatch offs from the ones y'all put in.
Yeah, he is.
And we want to get him out of there. Careful.
He needs to go back in.
That's one of them little Florida bass that
Isn't
y'all
he a
put.
beauty?
Yeah, he is. And just put him right on back, and let's go do it again.
All righty. Sound like a good plan.
All right, Jerry, the wind switched, but if you'll look back behind here, I think we've got a whole bed of green sunfish on this real sandy place back here.
Right.
They seem to just be all in there on that, right back there in that sand.
Okay.
And so just throw into there and you'll pick up sunfish, and then when you move off here, you get bluegills. And the wind just gonna blow us around. We just have to do the best we can. That'll get him right there. I'm right in there behind y'all.
Bound to get one.
Got him?
Yep.
Yeah, Jim, got him. Here he comes.
Yep.
They're on the bed there. That's what it is. Them devils is bedding up right there. You got him, Jerry?
Got him.
Yep.
Got him?
Got
Everybody got him. All of them are sunfish.
Right.
Look at there. Look at that. That's what we done. We done found a whole bed of them things. Just look at there.
Look at that. It's pretty.
Ain't that something?
That's a nice one.
Yes,
Sunfish.
sir. All right, fellas. We done a good job out there today. Everybody got
Didn't
a
we?
nice mess of fish here.
Those
And,
fish.
We got some dandies.
we caught, let's see, I believe it was 7 species of fish we caught here. We got the green sunfish, shellcracker, basses, crappies, a little bit of everything. Jerry, how's the health of these fish look to you now?
Archie, they look great.
In other words, everything looked pretty good
Looks
from what
fine.
we've done.
That's right.
Well, we sure want to thank you for the biological end of helping us on this thing. And Commissioner Martin, we appreciate all y'all down at the Conservation Department, not only providing great fishing for us in Alabama, for people from all over the country that come in. You want to invite them into the park too, don't you?
Absolutely. Come on south and come to Alabama. The fishing's great.
And enjoy it, and of course if they come too long they want to stay forever, but that's all right. Alabama, like I tell folks, it's the greatest place in the world. And let's put them in. We'll turn them all loose and catch them again later. Y'all folks stay tuned again next week for some more outdoors with Archie Phillips.